Atlanta, 2012. The city pulsed with a peculiar blend of old Southern charm and burgeoning tech ambition, a vibrant tapestry where historic brick met gleaming glass. For Amelia Ramirez, better known as Amy, her corner of this world was a meticulously organized two-bedroom apartment in Midtown, the kind with just enough light to nurture her small collection of succulents. Mornings began with the muted hum of Peachtree Street Rising, a strong French press coffee, and the ritualistic unfolding of her workday. She was 28, sharp, ambitious, and a junior marketing strategist at Vanguard Marketing Solutions, a firm nestled in the polished steel canyons of downtown Atlanta. Amy's commute was a familiar dance with MARTA, a 30-minute journey that transformed her from a quiet observer of city life into a focused professional. Her mind, even on the rattling train, was rarely at rest, constantly turning over data points, consumer behaviors, and innovative campaign angles. She lived for the challenge, for the thrill of cracking a seemingly impossible brief, of envisioning a marketing strategy so ingenious it would redefine the landscape. Vanguard, with its impressive roster of national clients and its reputation for aggressive growth, had been her dream stepping stone after graduating from Emory. For the past 8 months, Amy had poured every ounce of her creative and analytical energy into a single, monumental project. A comprehensive digital transformation strategy for Veridian Stores, a regional retail giant with aspirations of national expansion. Veridian was stuck in the past, their online presence dated, their customer engagement lacking. Amy's proposal was revolutionary. A blend of predictive analytics, hyper-personalized engagement algorithms, and a multi-platform content distribution model that promised to not only revitalize Veridian's brand, but also to capture an entirely new, younger demographic. She saw it as her magnum opus, the project that would finally propel her from junior strategist to a recognized innovator within Vanguard. She often stayed late. The office lights a lonely glow against the Atlanta skyline, fueled by cheap coffee and an unshakable belief in her vision. The strategy wasn't just good, it was a game changer. She felt it in her bones. Every flowchart, every data visualization, every carefully worded pitch deck slide was imbued with her relentless dedication. The moment of truth arrived on a humid Tuesday morning in early April. The air in Vanguard's main conference room felt thick, charged with anticipation. Amy was scheduled to present her Veridian strategy to her direct superior, Richard Montgomery, Rick. Rick was a senior vice president, a man in his late 40s with a booming laugh and an expansive, almost theatrical personality. He was the quintessential closer, charming, charismatic, a master of the deal, but Amy had learned, often less interested in the intricate machinery behind the marketing magic. He was a Sagittarius, through and through, always shooting for the stars, often without bothering to check the trajectory. He valued flash over substance, and his confidence, while infectious, could also be blinding. Amy launched into her presentation, her voice steady despite the tremor of excitement in her chest. She meticulously laid out the framework. The deep dive into Veridian's existing customer data, the identification of key market segments, her innovative approach to AI-driven content curation, and the proposed dynamic customer journey mapping. She highlighted the projected ROI, the scalability, the long-term sustainability. Her slides were crisp, her data irrefutable. Rick listened, nodding occasionally, a slight, almost imperceptible smirk playing on his lips. When she finished, the room was silent. "Impressive, Amy," Rick said, breaking the quiet, his voice dripping with a practiced casualness. He leaned back in his plush leather chair, a glint in his eye. "Very ambitious. A touch, perhaps, too academic for a client like Veridian. They need results, not a university thesis. But good effort. Lots of raw enthusiasm. We'll see what we can distill from this for the main pitch." He chuckled, a deep, patronizing sound. "You millennials always trying to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes the old ways are the best, eh?" His words, a casual dismissal, pricked her like 1,000 needles. He had completely missed the core innovation, the very thing that made her strategy so powerful. She felt a knot tighten in her stomach, a premonition of something deeply unsettling. A week later, the main pitch to Viridian's executive board was set. The stakes were astronomical. Amy, despite Rick's lukewarm reception, had been asked to be present, primarily, she suspected, to answer any technical questions that might arise. The conference room was larger, grander, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Centennial Olympic Park. The air buzzed with nervous energy. Viridian's CEO, a stern woman named Alina Vance, sat across the table, flanked by her marketing and finance VPs. Rick, impeccably dressed and radiating confidence, took center stage. He began his presentation, his voice smooth and persuasive. Amy watched, a growing dread churning inside her as he began to unveil the strategy. It was hers. Every core concept, every groundbreaking idea, every carefully crafted solution she had devised was now being presented by Rick as his own. He had streamlined it, certainly, stripped away some of the deeper analytical layers, simplified the complex algorithms into easily digestible bullet points. But the skeleton, the heart, the very soul of her vision was there. Then came the moment that solidified her humiliation. As Rick elaborated on the hyper-personalized engagement model, a direct lift from Amy's work, he paused, his gaze sweeping over the Viridian executives before settling briefly on Amy, who sat quietly at the side of the room. He offered a knowing smile. "Our young strategist here," he began, his voice imbued with a condescending warmth, "had some raw, unrefined ideas about this aspect. Good initial thoughts, but of course, we've thankfully honed them into something truly actionable and scalable for Viridian. It's about taking those nascent concepts and shaping them into a corporate-ready solution." He chuckled, a shared joke with the room, making it clear that Amy's contribution was minimal, amateur, and ultimately required his superior touch to be salvaged. The Viridian executives nodded, amused. Alina Vance even offered a small, polite smile in Amy's direction, a smile of pity, perhaps, or mild dismissal. The room filled with applause as Rick finished. The Viridian board, captivated by Rick's confident delivery and the impressive, albeit simplified, strategy, indicated their keen interest. Negotiations began immediately. Rick was the hero, the visionary who had landed Vanguard their biggest potential account of the year. Amy, meanwhile, felt a cold, crushing weight in her chest. Her face remained impassive, but inside, a storm raged. The injustice was a bitter, metallic taste in her mouth. She was invisible, her intellect stolen, her passion trivialized. Rick had not just taken her idea, he had turned her hard work into a punchline, a testament to his own imagined genius. The rest of the day was a blur of forced smiles and congratulatory handshakes for Rick. Amy escaped as soon as she could, making an excuse about a sudden headache. The MARTA ride home felt endless, the familiar cityscape outside the window a distorted, watery mess through her unshed tears. She stumbled into her apartment, throwing her bag onto the floor, and collapsed onto her sofa, the dam finally breaking. Tears streamed down her face, hot and furious. It wasn't just the theft of her idea. It was the public humiliation, the casual arrogance with which Rick had dismantled her confidence, her self-worth. She felt betrayed, violated. Every late night, every skipped meal, every ounce of passion she had poured into that project now felt like a cruel joke at her expense. She spent the next few days in a haze of despair. She called in sick, inventing a stomach bug. The thought of returning to Vanguard, of seeing Rick parade around in his stolen glory, made her physically ill. She stared at her laptop, the very tool that had helped her craft her masterpiece, now a symbol of her defeat. She questioned everything, her career path, her judgment, her ability to trust. She considered quitting, packing her bags, and moving to another city, another industry, to escape the searing memory of that conference room. But then, a flicker. A tiny, defiant spark ignited in the depths of her despair. Quitting would mean letting him win, truly and completely. It would mean allowing his arrogance to extinguish her ambition. The anger, slow burning and molten, began to consume the despair. It sharpened her focus, cleared the fog from her mind. Rick, in his arrogance, had only understood the surface appeal of her strategy. He had grasped the what, but completely missed the how and the why. In her initial presentation to him, she had, instinctively or perhaps out of an unconscious desire to protect her most intricate work, held back the full blueprint. She had alluded to proprietary algorithms, hinted at sophisticated user engagement models, but she had never given him the detailed code, the specific data architecture, the nuanced feedback loops that were the true heart of her innovation. These were still hers, locked away in her personal drives, refined over countless hours outside of Vanguard's official network. This was her hidden advantage. This was the seed of her revenge. Rick had stolen a diluted, palatable version of her genius. The true power, the deeper, more intelligent framework remained untouched. A cold resolve settled over Amy. She wouldn't just survive this, she would turn the tables. She would show him, and the entire industry, what genuine innovation looked like, without ever needing to utter a single word of accusation. The market, she decided, would be her judge and her jury. The first step was to sever ties with Vanguard, but on her terms. She crafted a resignation letter, concise and professional, citing a desire to explore new and more challenging avenues and a need for greater creative autonomy. Rick, when she delivered it, barely blinked. Understood, Amy, it happens. Good luck with whatever you pursue. He offered a dismissive wave, already mentally moving on, confident that he had already extracted all value from her. Amy walked out of Vanguard Marketing Solutions on a crisp October afternoon in 2012, a sense of liberation mixing with a fierce determination. She took her small severance package and her even smaller savings, knowing she was stepping into the unknown. Her first few months were a blur of intense work, fueled by coffee and an unyielding drive. She temporarily moved back in with her parents in Marietta for a short stint to save on rent, using their quiet basement as her new workspace. She dusted off her old university contacts, reaching out to Professor Thompson, her former mentor at Emory, a data science guru who had always encouraged her unconventional thinking. Professor Thompson, intrigued by Amy's refined concept, offered guidance and access to a small network of indie tech developers and data scientists in Atlanta's burgeoning tech square. Working out of a co-working space downtown, surrounded by other ambitious startups, Amy began to build Ascendant Insights. Her new venture was more than just a marketing agency. It was a testament to her original vision, unfettered by corporate bureaucracy or the need to dumb down innovation for a sales-driven VP. She meticulously refined her algorithms, integrated cutting-edge machine learning, and developed a truly bespoke approach to digital marketing. She focused on an underserved niche, high-growth, independent e-commerce brands struggling to scale their online presence against larger competitors. These were passionate entrepreneurs who understood the value of deep strategy, not just superficial campaigns. She started small, taking on a few pro bono projects for local Atlanta artisans, a handmade leather goods company, an organic skincare line, a bespoke jewelry designer. She poured the same meticulous care into these small accounts as she had into Veridian. The results were immediate and impressive. Her clients, previously struggling with inconsistent online sales, saw significant upticks in engagement, conversion rates, and ultimately, revenue. She documented everything, every metric, every success story, building an irrefutable portfolio. Crucially, she also sought legal counsel, patenting her unique algorithms and ensuring her intellectual property was ironclad, a shield against any future corporate vultures. As 2013 unfolded, Rick Montgomery's grand campaign for Veridian stores began to show cracks. The initial buzz generated by his aggressive, surface-level strategy had fizzled. Veridian's digital presence, while initially boosted, quickly stagnated. Customer engagement remained shallow, conversion rates plateaued, and their much-anticipated national expansion seemed to stumble before it even truly began. Rick, ever the master of spin, blamed market volatility and client indecisiveness, but whispers within Vanguard began to circulate. His department, once the shining star, was now under scrutiny. The promised ROI for Veridian was nowhere in sight. Meanwhile, Ascendant Insights, operating quietly but effectively out of its small office in Ponce City Market, was gaining traction. Amy's small, nimble team, comprised of a few talented freelancers she had handpicked, was delivering consistent, groundbreaking results. Her clients, once small local businesses, were starting to make waves. The handmade leather goods company, Forge and Hide, saw its national online sales quadruple in 6 months, largely thanks to Ascendant Insights' hyper-targeted digital campaigns and authentic brand storytelling. Industry blogs and online marketing forums started to feature articles about the disruptive approaches of this new Atlanta-based agency. Amy, once an anonymous junior strategist, was slowly becoming a recognized name in the indie e-commerce space. Her work was celebrated for its intelligence, its efficacy, and its genuine understanding of the digital consumer. The true clash came in late 2013. Evergreen Retail, a venerable national department store chain, a direct competitor to Veridian, had been watching Veridian's struggles and Evergreen's own stagnant online growth with concern. They were desperate for a digital overhaul, something genuinely innovative, not just another glossy corporate campaign. Their internal research team, constantly scanning the market for emerging talent, stumbled upon the buzz surrounding Ascendant Insights. They were impressed by the case studies, the measurable success of Amy's clients, and the glowing testimonials. They sent an inquiry. Amy, poised and confident, landed the meeting. She walked into Evergreen's corporate headquarters in Seattle, thousands of miles from the scene of her humiliation, and presented her fully realized strategy. It was the sophisticated, robust, and proven version of the idea Rick had stolen, amplified, refined, and demonstrated through real-world success. She laid out her vision, detailing the nuanced algorithms, the personalized content streams, the dynamic A/B testing protocols, the deep analytics that went far beyond what Vanguard had ever offered. The Evergreen executives, accustomed to bland corporate pitches, were captivated. Amy wasn't just selling a campaign, she was selling a partnership, a vision for their digital future. She closed the deal. A multi-million-dollar contract, a direct competitive blow to Vanguard's struggling Veridian account, landed squarely in Ascendant Insights' lap. The market began to laugh, not with derision, but with the undeniable, irrefutable truth of numbers. Evergreen Retail's digital renaissance, powered by Ascendant Insights, became an industry sensation. Their online sales soared, their brand image revitalized, their customer engagement metrics shattering previous records. Simultaneously, Veridian's campaign, still struggling under Rick Montgomery's leadership, became a cautionary tale of corporate stagnation. The contrast was stark, undeniable, and reported extensively in trade publications like Adweek and Marketing Profs. Analysts dissected Evergreen's success, praising Ascendant Insights' innovative approach while questioning Veridian's lack of vision. The consequences for Rick Montgomery were swift and merciless, delivered not by Amy, but by the relentless logic of the market. His one-sun-blemished reputation within Vanguard began to unravel. His department's budget was slashed, his authority diminished. He was increasingly sidelined, his suggestions met with skepticism. The Veridian account, once his triumph, became his millstone. Eventually, Veridian, frustrated by the lack of results and envious of Evergreen's soaring success, drastically scaled back their contract with Vanguard, delivering the final, fatal blow to Rick's standing. He was quietly reassigned to a non-client-facing role, a corporate Siberia from which few ever returned. Within months, the internal memo circulated. Richard Montgomery has decided to pursue other opportunities outside of Vanguard Marketing Solutions. His corporate star, once so bright and arrogant, had burned out, leaving nothing but a lingering scent of failure. Amy, meanwhile, soared. Ascendant Insights flourished. She moved her team into a sprawling, modern office space in Atlanta's Old Fourth Ward, overlooking the Beltline, a symbol of growth and connection. She hired more talented strategists, data scientists, and creative minds, cultivating a culture of true innovation and respect. She became a sought-after speaker at industry conferences, her insights published in leading journals. Major brands, observing the meteoric rise of Evergreen Retail, began to approach Ascendant Insights, eager for their own digital transformation. Her revenge was complete, yet she had never uttered a word of accusation to Rick, never reveled in his downfall. The market had done it for her. It had taken his stolen, diluted idea and exposed its hollowness, while elevating her true, unadulterated vision to unprecedented heights. Amy Ramirez had not just won. She had redefined the game, building her own empire on the ruins of another's arrogance, proving that true genius, once unleashed, cannot be contained, only multiplied. And as Ascendant Insights continued its upward trajectory, she sometimes allowed herself a small, knowing smile, remembering the taste of bitter injustice and the sweet, undeniable victory of letting the market, not personal vendetta, have the final, resounding laugh.